question here is for a lot of women listening, they crave those type of relationships, those really intimate, beautiful relationships with women. What would be advice for them for cultivating those so that they can feel seen and held in the way that you do?
Mm. I think getting involved in your local community through volunteer work, um, and activism, at least for me, because that's a passion of mine.
Hmm.
I would personally
Hmm.
start there, to meet like-minded individuals. Like, you have to. And also I've met some great friends on Twitter who then I, like, met up with, and, I'm close friends with them now. But I think stepping outside and going into your community and trying things you've never tried before, find a book club, create a book club with your friends, or find a writing circle. Uh, but I think it's really important to step outside and find that close by so that we can, like, you can consistently have that moment of, like, circling back, whether it's once a month, every 2 weeks, seeing each other in person, I think is, like, really, really important. And knowing that you're not the only one feeling that way. Like, there's that poem about friendship. I have a couple, but every time I perform it, every time I share it, it's like it just cracks through something that I didn't even know would resonate so much. And so if it helps, like, so many people are craving that. And I think especially as adults, I felt a deep loneliness leaving college because, from the time that you're in kindergarten to the end of college, it's like you're surrounded by peers. Nobody tells you how jarring it's going to be when you graduate and you're just by yourself figuring it out on your own. And then after that, unless you're working with people who you would, potentially want to be friends with, it's so difficult to meet new people and make new friends. But I think, and when you meet the right ones, energetically, you will just hit it off, and, like, you will make that effort. And sometimes it's not easy. And it's like any relationship is work, as I'm sure you know, and a lot of that work is not fun. But it's important to do so that you can experience the other side of it, which is fun and joyous and beautiful.
I'm so glad you said that because this is like my question I've been pondering myself recently is around work and relationships and finding the balance of when is the work for your spiritual growth in relationships? When is it part of the conscious relationship? And when is a relationship just unaligned? And I'm curious your thoughts on that, like how people can figure that out. Because I think in our space, when we're like, yes, relationships are hard, you have to look at your shadow. You have to look at the parts of you that are ugly. You have to really put your ego aside. You have to choose love again and again, which isn't easy. And then when is it a time where it feels like it's unaligned and there might be too much efforting? Have you ever had any of those experiences, or do you have any thoughts on that when I say that?
Hmm. Do you mean relationships with friends or anybody, or, like, romantic
I even
relationships?
think
What do you mean?
both. I think
Okay.
both. I think both.
I don't know. I think I kind of will always come back to, I always say that I can't expect people to, if I'm giving this person so much, I can't give expecting that in return. And if this person teaches me that
Mm,
perhaps they can't love me or share with me the ways that I want, then I need to, and then that's okay. And then I know that maybe then I'm not going to pour my heart and my soul into this, like, and so I kind of had to learn that throughout years. It's like that I have some friends who, I'm gonna party with them, and, like, that's kind of it, and we're gonna have a great night, but they're not the folks that I'm gonna call when my, like, heart is broken and I need somebody to, like, pick me up and, like, just take me for ice cream. Um, but I think we always know, like, the gut and the instinct is always speaking
mhm,
to us, and sometimes we're just too afraid to listen.
mhm.
But I think listening to your instinct is very, very important, and I think, like, for me, it's always been like, I don't know if you sometimes when something is, I leave when it's toxic. That's kind of when I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But sometimes I have friendships that are very difficult, but I know that that's something that they are dealing with in their own life. And I bring how much I can and I support how much I can. And then there's a boundary that I draw and then I go.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
Dr. Tema Bryant, she came on the podcast and she said, there's such a difference between saying, I don't know, and saying, I know, but I'm scared. Because I think that's for a lot of people, their intuition speaks to them. It's telling them something and they know, but they're scared to say or admit it. I know I'm someone that happens to me all the time where I'm like, I don't know, I don't know. And it's, I know, but I'm scared to admit it, or I'm scared to make a move or take a step further. Have you ever had a friendship breakup? Have you ever had your heart broken by a friend in your life?
I have. I have. I'm very lucky. I haven't had that for quite some time. um, I'm very lucky for that. But I've had like some of my best friends like in high school, really. That's
Hmm.
when the last time it happened for me.
Hmm.
Um, that truly broke my heart. And I have had, although I haven't had like toxic friendship breakups, one of my dear longest friend I've had since I was in sixth grade, my best friend. Um, my relationship, we went from seeing each other every single day from like the start of sixth grade to college. And then when all of this started happening for me and the book started coming out and my interests and my ambitions sort of began to change. Well, not change, I actually just began to step into the ambitions and step into all of that. She did have, she saw it differently. She saw it as, like, me putting our relationship second and not caring and all of those, so I think that was probably in recent years the most difficult transition I've had is, we sort of stepped away from our relationship for a year, and I thought it was never ever gonna like we were never gonna come back together again. And it was a relationship I never ever thought would end, like we would talk about, oh, one day we're gonna get married and we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll have kids and we're just gonna grow old together. It's gonna be great. And then boom, it just disappeared. And a year after, she sort of came back and she was like, I'm sorry. I thought you were
Hmm.
being selfish, but you weren't being selfish. You were just aligned in your purpose, and I'm realizing that now and like let's work on it. And our relationship, I love her so deeply. And but our relationship will never go back to how it was because I can't see her every day and I can't call her every day. And like I still grieve that because I miss that and she is medicine for me. Um, but I've realized friendships will work like this, we'll grow together and then we'll go apart, but we can come back and there's so many ebbs and flows and it doesn't always just have to be closeness and perfect. In fact, I think most of it is just kind of like this.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And yeah, the high school relationships, man, because during those years, you're just so desperately clinging to feeling less alone and feeling seen. It is like such a tender, I mean, those relationships with women, some of the most heartbreak I've ever felt. It's so, and you are just like so close. It is like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, you're my bridesmaid. You're like 14. You're like, you're my bridesmaid. We're together forever. This is us, period, the end.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Morning Microdose by Almost 30.
We hope you enjoyed waking up.
As always, we encourage you to take what resonates and leave the rest. If you enjoyed this trip, tune into the full episode on the Almost 30 podcast. All episode information can be found in the show notes.
Make sure to subscribe, and if this becomes a part of your morning routine, be sure to share it with a friend. We have new inspiring doses Monday through Friday. Follow us on Instagram at Morning Microdose, and follow Almost 30 at Almost 30 Podcast.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the vortex.